Ashland is out of work. Company profitability sits at an all-time low, and unemployment just broke every record the city keeps. With everyone's bills piling up, something has to give. City officials' answer is Woodland. The planned development is about to become two things Ashland needs most. One would be jobs today. New zoning will open the doors for offices, cafes, and shops. If it can hire, it has a place in Woodland. Two, jobs tomorrow will break ground on Ashland's very first college. This will turn idle residents into skilled grads. Higher skills mean higher salaries, richer tax coffers, in a city that suddenly looks irresistible to high-tech employers scouting their next expansion. Get this right, and Woodland becomes the spark that pulls Ashland out of its job crisis. Get this wrong, and we stay stuck in a low-skill, low-wage loop. No pressure, right? Alright, welcome back to Ashland. Today we're going to be building out our tram depot first. I imagine this area was somewhat old, so it was here before probably a lot of these other developments, and because of that, we're going to place a lot of old buildings, and then we'll have a few new buildings as well, just to mix things up. I imagine the college is what's spurring some of this new redevelopment. But to get things started, I want to run a tram line across this entire area, just to make sure students have access to transportation, and really there's two areas that we have. So one, we have this hilly terrain, and if I bought this tile right here, I would want to develop on it, and I really don't want to do that. I kind of want to end this part of Ashland in this episode. Then we have this area right here, and it's also very hilly, but a lot of it is kind of junk land. There's not too much you can do here, so it makes more sense that this is the ideal location. Now before we place it down, I want to get a bridge across here to see what that's going to look like. We could send it through Lithia Gardens, but I'm just not so sure that makes sense. Alright, now let's all align this to the same object height. I want this to be fairly flat. And now let's convert this to an elevated segment. And we'll convert this segment at the end here to be a key. But we need to drag the node out a bit just because right now that key wall is kind of in the water. There we go, that's looking good. Now we just need to connect this road in. We'll make sure we have constant slope and ground level on. And 3.7% isn't too bad whatsoever. We have a decent amount of land here to work for our tram depot. We are going to buy the other tile. We could place it along the water, but that almost feels like we might disturb it too much, and I really want to stray away from that if I can. I also want to keep it as far away from Lithia Gardens as I can, so we'll place it somewhere right along that connection. And actually, one more thing. I want to run the tram roads first before I place the tram depot, because I want to know if I'm going to be making a bad mistake here or not. And I'm going to use the 2-lane side tram road, just essentially one that I whipped together for Woodland. And it's a 2-way road with a 2-way tram track on top. Alright, for the most part, that's looking pretty good. If you can tell, I was going really slow because I didn't want to break the zoning in any way. And of course, it's going to be broken a bit just because this road was wider than the original road. But I think it's fine for now. We'll go through and we'll remove all of the weird crosswalks and the traffic lights. Alright, and now we just need to fix this blinking icon because it's driving me crazy. And to do that, we'll actually need to unlock trams. I haven't unlocked them yet. I was mostly just using Road Builder and Find It. So we'll go into transportation, we'll unlock train, and then we'll unlock trams. And this should allow us to add a 1-way tram road onto our 4-lane arterial. And honestly, the more I think about this, the more I don't think it makes sense. This is our arterial, it comes directly from our highway, so adding a tram line onto it might congest things. Yeah, I think really, if we want to add a tram, it should probably be on a connector. To me, that makes the most sense. And I'm thinking we just run it around this area, similar to how we were going to do with the arterial, but this time we'll just follow along the connector. So we'll convert this back to a normal road. Now let's use the same road that we were using for the kind of water area, and we'll just send it around. And then we'll remove the tram line from this road right here. So we'll just convert it back to a normal 2-lane road. And then all we have to do is add in our tram road for our little bridge right here. All right, now let's buy our tile. So we're gonna be buying this one right here. It's 18,000 per month, 105,000 up front. There's some groundwater on here, which is pretty decent. Apparently some ore deposits too, but we're gonna use none of those. And then finally, let's get our tram depot placed in. So I have two thoughts. One, we could place it directly on the road, but that means the road is handling all of the loading. Or we could push this terrain just a bit back, do a tiny bit of blasting, and we could have it on a like a frontage road or a connector road. And I feel like it definitely makes the most sense to have it on some sort of frontage road. So we'll just place this in. We'll check our contours really quickly. I don't want to get too close if I can. I want to do as little grading here as possible, not to disturb the natural hill. And then let's place this in. All right, now what does our upgrade path look like? It's been a while since I've placed some trams, so honestly I can't remember. And it looks like we just have a garage extension, so we get 5 more vehicles. We already have 10, and I don't see us needing more. We'll probably just have 2 bi-directional lines. And when I'm imagining who's developing this, it's either the city, and they did it a long time ago. They thought it would be cool. They thought it'd help their citizens, maybe it'd increase the land value. Or the college is now coming in and adding these tram lines afterwards, and they just want to do this in the most low effort way possible. They're trying to make the city happy, and to do that, they're going to give trams. Either way, let's add in our first few tram stops. And essentially, I tried to place one stop on each road. And the reason I'm doing this is just because it's Cities Skylines. If we can provide our citizens with more stops, then they'll be more likely to use the actual tram, which is really what I want. So we're going to have as much stops as possible. And I think this should do the trick anyways. It provides a fair amount of access to the entire area. All right, now let's actually go in and name the line. So we'll click on transportation, open up our tram line, and we'll just probably call it something like Woodland Tram number 1. Now let's go ahead and add our second tram line. It'll just essentially be the same tram line, but the opposite way. I'm not sure if this is going to conflict, but if it does, then we'll just throw more trams at our single line. And then let's just give this a name. We'll call it Woodland Tram number 2. Okay, now for the most part, everything looks pretty good. I have one problem, and that's people might prioritize coming down this road right here if they're coming from the hillside interchange. So the only thing I can think of to try and fix this is to prioritize this road as much as possible. If there's a lot of traffic coming down here, and if it ends up being a problem for our trams, I will just reduce the speed limit on this road to something ridiculous like 10 or 15 or 20. I don't know. I'm sure there's a reason the city could come up with to do that. And then we'll just apply priority to this road. Now I want to get our college in, and there's only a few spots to me that make sense. I mean, there's definitely some we could jam pack it into, but I want to make sure we have enough room to add on some extensions. And in this area, we'll have some small terrain problems to contend with. It won't be anything too big until we add on our extensions, but I think it could work. So I say let's just go for it. Let's just place it down right here. We can mull over a billion different areas, but honestly, let's just get it done. And we unlock the EE office. Okay, that's cool. I like that. Now let's take a look and see what upgrades we have available to us. So we have the track and field, and I love this asset. I use it without the college all the time. Then we have our college dormitories. And then finally we have our extension wing, which we probably won't use. The college dormitories will already give us enough student capacity, and even at its base, it's 5,000. I can't imagine us needing more than 5,000. So let's get this track and field placed down. And there's going to be some problems with the road, so we'll just add a key wall to it. And then let's do a bit of grading in the back. Really, I just want to make room for the stadium. Maybe there's some paths back here. Maybe there's a few benches. I don't know. There's not much to look at. You mostly see a key wall. All right, now I'm looking at our tram road, and I'm wondering if I can swap the sides of the tram line. I prefer that it was on the left side, so it actually dropped the students off at the college itself rather than on the other side of the college. And let's just swap this around really quickly. And that is much better, but I'm not a tram expert, so I don't really know if this track makes sense or not. If you know a thing or two about trams, please feel free to let me know in the comments. From what I'm seeing, it looks pretty good. I don't think there's anything crazy with it, and I don't think there's anything too unrealistic, but you never know, right? For example, right here with this line, they'd both have to converge into this single spot in order to drop off the passengers. So not sure if that makes sense, if I should just be throwing more trams at one line. I guess we'll see. Either way, let's finish up our college by adding on our dormitories. And obviously not enough room right there, but I think we could make a little hill right here and place it along the hill. And I tried really hard to place a third dormitory, but honestly, every time I did, the path would get really messed up, or the buildings would get really messed up, or the road would look weird, or the track and field would start to fade. So I'm just gonna say, you know what, we'll be fine with 2 and we'll just move on. Now I want to add some net lanes in here, kind of make this path look a little bit more pretty and connect it to the other side of the road. Alright, now I've seen a bunch of jank happening. There's our first piece of jank, and I think we should be able to fix this just by deleting it, then re-adding it back in, or by doing grading. Alright, that seems to have worked. I mean, there's definitely still some weird things happening. You can tell the terrain just doesn't want to fully cooperate, but if you can ignore it, I can ignore it too. Now let's finish up with some of our surfaces over here in our actual dormitories. We have this little hill right here, and I figure, why not just go around it? And before I go too hard on anything else, let's frame the area by using some trees. We'll just go around the perimeter. I was thinking about placing this community pool and playing it off as like our swim team's practice area. We're not going to have any big sports parks at this college because this college isn't really meant to be like a fancy college. This is more just a basic college, just kind of doing the bare minimum. In the future, maybe we could expand the density of this area and then add a sports park. But for right now, I think I'm just going to keep the swim team. It makes this area a bit different, especially compared to when we put our university in the future, and I think it's fun. We need a name for our college, and we also need a name for our swim team. I'm drawing a blank right now, so for the meantime, I'm just going to call it the Ashland College and the Ashland Swim Team. I want to see our trams in action, so let's click play, and let's see how they work. The good news is, I didn't see the problem that I was worried about. They seem to just have enough offset in terms of their time, where they don't cross over or wait for each other to pick up passengers. Although to be fair, we don't have any passengers on here. Oh, actually we have 5. Wow. Okay, so we do have passengers, but maybe when we have more, then the backup will actually start to happen. And this looks like a mess and it's frustrating. I wish there was an easier way to clean this up. What was that? Where? So they hit a conflict and they all just disappeared. Or at least most of them disappeared. So I'm wondering what the problem is here. Let's turn down our ticket price and our assigned vehicles. And we're still having some really weird conflicts. This one just won't move forward. I don't get why. So they have a path and to turn right, but this one's in their way. This one's path is to go forward, but that one's in that's way, and they all disappear. Okay. And all the passengers get off and walk down the road because they have no other choice. That's baffling me. I don't know how to force them to use one lane. They're being really weird, so I'm just going to delete line 2 for now. I've changed it to blue and red, so I'll delete the red line, I guess. And then I'm wondering if that will make any difference whatsoever. If it comes down to it, we can just throw all of the vehicles onto this one line. It won't really matter too much anyways once we have all our density. So let's improve this by removing these 2 stops right here. It's not really that big of a deal. The stops are very close to each other, so maybe that's creating a conflict with the passing. And then let's just crank the vehicles all the way to 6. Why not, right? Let's see. Let's put some stress on this line and see what we can do. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't work. And so far from what I can see, it seems like it's working fine, but maybe we'll have some issues once we have some more citizens in this area. So let's start with our zoning. For our zoning, I really want to go heavy on row homes in this area. I want this area to feel extremely old, and I want the college to spur some new development. So maybe towards the more valuable areas like the college itself, there'll be newer buildings. Maybe towards the waterfront that's actually a waterfront, there'll be something that's a bit bigger. But for the most part, I want commercial, office, and row homes, and I want this area to feel fairly old. Oh yeah, we also unlocked our Eastern European office building, so maybe we can place that in as well. And we unlocked the round office. That one doesn't really fit in this area. It's a bit too big and too fancy. But for our Eastern European office, I'm not sure where to place this just yet. We could place it on the college campus. And it does feel almost like another faculty or another area part of their campus just because of the way it looks. But yeah, I think we're going to put this building on hold for now. There's a few good places we could put it, but we'll just wait. While I'm still trying to formulate what I want this area to look like, let's just go do a bit of detailing right here. We'll fix up the paths and then we'll add some trees in. All right, now let's just upgrade these trees to change their age, and let's take a look and see if these are locked. Yeah, they're locked. So I actually want them to be unlocked because I placed them all at level 1, and it doesn't really make sense to keep them at level 1 forever. I imagine this area has been redeveloped just a tiny bit thanks to its proximity to the college. So maybe there wasn't a nice plaza there before, but now there is. Then in this plot right here, I want to go with some row homes. I'm thinking we just go with northeastern. Those seem to be the best. Southwestern almost feel a bit too fancy and kind of beach-like. All right, and that's pretty much the framework for each and every single one of these lots. So I'm gonna do the same thing. Because I'm not doing anything special or different, I'm just going to skip right past all of these little detailings. Maybe I'll have a few extra little moments in there, but I don't want to keep showing the same redundant footage over and over and over again. And I don't want to speed it up to 800 times because it starts to look a bit wonky. All right, here's what I've done off camera so far. Essentially just the same thing. You know, I really wish there was a way we could add two types of things at the same time. If I could just add the tree covers, the tree manhole type things underneath the trees while I place the trees, I would love to do that, but we can't. And because of that, I find it's almost a waste of time to do so unless it's a very special place. Otherwise, I would add them right below these trees right now, but it's very time consuming for what you get. And wow, we are just rolling in money. I want to start spending some of this money ASAP. I don't like having too much money. When you do, the game almost starts to feel too easy. So we're gonna have to play some really big budget services soon. I want to add a bit of commercial now to take a break from the row homes. And I think we'll probably just do that right around here. Now I'm just gonna draw a service road because I feel like the commercial that I'm placing down kind of needs it. Well, it doesn't need it in terms of game functionality, but I feel like it looks better. Plus it breaks up our grid just a bit more. I wish I could delete specific assets from ever spawning, because I'm looking at the back of these buildings and I'm wondering, well, how do vehicles get in here to provide service or drop off supplies or materials or whatever it may be? They wouldn't be able to. So we're gonna add these little service areas and then we'll add some trees and finish up our detailing. There we go, and it didn't take much to make this area better, but it does feel better now. There we go, I did some rapid fire plopping, and for areas like this where there isn't a full connection, so we couldn't put a path through here, we're probably just gonna put some trees down. I could extend the path in this one right here, or like the area, but it doesn't really make sense, does it? I think trees probably are the best decision here, and they require the least amount of effort to look good. All right, now let's add in some small shops, something that's family run. Definitely not that. That is a monstrosity of a shop. This is really the problem of using vanilla assets. So I got 3 of the same shops, and I don't know, it's starting to drive me a bit crazy. I added this path in between just to make it, I don't know, a bit nicer, I was thinking that maybe this area had its initial development, and then after the college was added, there was probably a little bit of redevelopment. Yeah, I can't stand this. It's just there's too many of the same assets. It makes it look all bland. Usually what I do is add paths in between these buildings, or that's what I used to do when we only had vanilla assets. But now we have more assets and I want to use them. Something like that should work pretty well. We'll see once it levels up. Maybe it'll be a bit nicer. And that right there really shows the difference a few bushes, a few trees can make to an area. It's the difference between it feeling kind of blank and bland and just awful to something that feels a lot more alive. And I think trees are the main reason areas feel alive. Because this is right beside our college campus, I really want to add in this 2x2 restaurant. I think it fits in really well. You know, it's got a nice small footprint. It's kind of modern looking, so maybe this is a redevelop. Maybe there's a row home here before. And overall, I think it's a pretty solid fit. And then the newer building on the left is probably a redevelopment, whereas these buildings on the right, they've probably been improved over time, but they're probably not redevelopments. They've probably been here for a long, long, long time. I like the storytelling that gives us. And it looks like we're having some traffic build up here. I'm wondering where it's coming from. Maybe we can fix up some of this by resetting to vanilla and then removing the unsafe. And then we can just set priority. So this is obviously the priority. And if you're coming from this road, it's a stop. Do the same thing up here. Priority for the free flowing movements, stop for the ones that need to turn. That's looking pretty good. Let's take a look. Where are you going? So you're going to the community pool. Okay. So I guess that's where most of the people are going, aren't they? This person is literally going around the corner. This person is going to a store, I guess. They're going to park. Given this area, I think it's important to take the speed limit down from 50 kilometers per hour to 40 kilometers per hour. Really, we don't want to be prioritizing that car movement. We have trams here. We have a college right there. This is a really important road. And honestly, I think we should just do a little bit of junction control here. So one, we'll remove unsafe. And two, we can set priority. I'm almost tempted to put a traffic light here just because of the way I'm seeing pedestrians almost get hit as they cross the road. The only thing that worries me would be the choke point that we might create if we set a traffic light. So this would be the choke point right here. Either way, let's go into our traffic light. Let's select split phasing and then we'll turn on exclusive pedestrian phase and we'll set it to 2 times. And while this is sorting itself out, let's go over and finish our plot that we were just working on. And to finish it, I thought we could add some sort of community greenhouse or some community garden. And my idea is that, well, you're broke, you're in college, you're hungry, and if you're in Canada, then lettuce costs $6. So maybe you can grow some free lettuce here. Maybe you can grow some free tomatoes or some berries or something. You know, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant or anything fancy, but it still could be really nice and a big benefit for the community itself. I'm wondering, is there an appropriate soil or, I don't know, it's not really soil, but more of like a dirt type surface for this. The riverbed isn't it because it's just too rocky. The mulch is too mulchy, maybe something like that. But it doesn't really get the point across that I wanted to make, and pebbles definitely not. Yeah, I guess we'll just go with something like this for now. You know what? Let's get a little bit crazy here and let's add a gazebo. There we go. Now we're going crazy. That one's too big. This one fits pretty much perfectly. And with these last set of trees, we are done this area. And again, it's another area that turned out pretty well. I'm always happy with how it looks after I add the trees, usually not before though. Now our parking for our college is very, very limited, even for the businesses around here. The area is meant to be very pedestrian friendly, so I don't want to go crazy with parking, but we could add one in here, especially because people are coming to the community pool, which isn't supposed to be a community pool. It's supposed to be our college swim team. So we'll add it in, we'll dress it up, we'll make it look a bit nicer, and then we'll move on to something else. Okay, I'm gonna pick up the pace here and I'm gonna use the UK assets. So the reason why it's taking me so long is because I'm trying to vary up the design of each block. but I'm only working with the northeastern assets, which aren't that many. The last time I used these assets, my game threw a bunch of different types of errors at me, and I'm going to hope and pray that these assets won't do that, and we will be perfectly fine, and we can place them, and we'll see. We'll see. From my Canadian perspective, specifically Ontario, these don't feel overly UK. I could see these in pretty much any of the cities I've personally lived in, either in the downtown or some of the older areas, and I really like them. Now, up top, I'm thinking we can just put some urban promenade buildings. Really, this is right beside the college. It has access to trams. This could have been one of the redeveloped lots, but I'm still not looking for something that's massive, and I think this right here fits perfectly. You know, it's what, 4 stories tall? And I think that's pretty solid. That's a fair size, and I could definitely see that being redeveloped from the row homes that would have been here before. And I hope I don't run into a problem. I think I'm going to. There's going to be no piece that fits this block perfectly. So there's going to be either one empty space, or we do something like this. I think we could do it on both sides. So we'll have a left piece here, and then a right piece here. And that fits the way I want it to. Plus, honestly, I actually think it looks nicer. I would have loved to add another set of buildings behind here, but the terrain is just so difficult to work with. I don't want to see these big giant white walls, so we're going to put some murals on here. I have a feeling we might be going cat themed. Yeah, we got to go cat themed. It's just the biggest one, and it fits pretty well. It looks decent. If you're a dog person, I'm sorry. If you're a cat person, you're welcome. And this is what we're going to go with. So we'll have that random person on the right building, and on this building, we'll have the chirper bird and another random person. I think it works well. Uh-oh, I have no idea what's happening here. So my game kind of crashed. Move It's not being happy, and it's ever since I added the UK assets. All right, we're not going to let that stop us. We are going to delete this net lane. We're going to redraw in just a normal path. We'll try and keep them if we can. I really don't want to delete them. I do like the variety, but if we have to, then we will. It's been about 5-ish minutes, and everything seems to be working fine so far. So maybe it was just a Move It issue. I don't know what it had a problem with. Maybe something I moved in the past. I honestly don't know. I rarely ever get errors like that, but I always get errors when I place in the UK pack. So I don't know. I'm going to move on. I'm going to keep praying to the UK pack gods, and hopefully, we don't have any more issues. But I do love the way this area feels. I think it's coming together extremely nicely. And we are just rolling in money, and we're rolling in demand, so let's use some of it. I always want to use commercial when we can. Let's just paint that in and see what we get. I'm hoping for some small lots. Of course, it's big box retail, and of course I crashed. Oh no. All right, say goodbye to the UK pack forever. I will never use this again. I'm going to keep the game paused. I'm going to bulldoze all of these buildings. Then I'm going to click play. I'm going to let it play for a bit and see if that solves the issue and if we crash again. All right, it's been about 25 to 30 minutes. Everything seems to be working perfectly fine. So with this, I'm happy to move on now. I'm just going to place this with the same assets we've been placing the entire time. Now, we still have commercial demand. No, we still have office demand. And I want to use it. And then all of a sudden my game crashes. No, but in all seriousness, I'm going to place some office down right here. We'll zone it in. And then we'll probably just add some kind of medium density apartment buildings. The same ones we've been using this entire time. So not row homes this time. Because we have a parking lot right there, I kind of want to create somewhat of a monstrosity. So we'll add alleyway lanes on both sides of this road. And then we're just going to fill in with a bunch of different medium density buildings. I guess they're mixed use medium density. And I want something that varies the height just a bit more. And to me, I've seen this before and I see it all the time in different cities. It's a monstrosity because if you want to come in here with a car, there's never enough room to turn around. So your best bet is to just not come in here with a car. All right, here's my monstrosity in its final form. Honestly, it's not really that bad. I don't know why I keep calling it a monstrosity. We're going to swap to the other side of Woodland. We're going to build out a little bit more density. And for the most part, I'm probably going to skip past the rest of all of this zoning just because it's more of the same thing. There's not too much variance happening. Okay, so over here, I imagine that this was developed later on in Woodland's life cycle. So because of that, land values are a bit higher here. Plus there's better views. You're not kind of right beside a giant hill. So I want 3 or 4 really big, dense buildings. And to me, this is dense and big right here compared to what we're already placing down. Maybe 1 big office just to provide some more jobs. Then we'll add row homes pretty much to the rest. Also, it drives me nuts when these buildings have these garages back here, but have no actual way to enter in. So we're going to add a road right here, and we'll just send it along to the actual road. That way it connects in. It just makes so much more sense. And actually, this area is fairly dense, so I think it's about time we gave it some services. We are rolling in money, and I don't want to be making $50,000 an hour. If it comes down to it, I will just figure out a way to remove money from the actual amount of money that we have, unless we're doing a massive project. Again, I really don't want a bunch of money. It makes the game too easy, so I start trying to find ways to spend it. If you look above, you might see that we have a bunch of trees. It's because I spent like 2 million placing them around the map. All right, so our medical clinic's looking pretty good. Let's add in the upgrade because why not? It gives us 30 extra capacity and another 5 ambulances. And let's get rid of these palm trees. The palm trees make no sense unless they're fake plastic palm trees. But instead we'll add in some birch trees. We'll do a quick little path and that'll be it for our medical clinic. And that's not bad. I wanted to make sure we had a bunch of green space in our medical clinic. That way people could walk around in the green fields, and really it shouldn't feel too foresty. A lot of our other parts in the city already feel very foresty. So for this one, I was just like, let's make a very simple design here. We might as well start adding in more services as well. The next thing we could probably use is a postal service station. And I'm thinking we place this actually by the college. I think it makes more sense over there than it does over here. Although if it was in the central of the city, then it could serve the residents better. You know what? I'm just going to place it right here. Cities make questionable decisions all the time, and this one to me could be kind of questionable. We'll assign our postal service to these 4 districts right here. And then for our mailboxes, I just gave some basic coverage to Hillside and Lithia Gardens and more coverage to Woodland. Now I think we could easily place a police station here too. It was one of our problems a little while ago. It was high crime, and we're pretty far away from all of our police stations where we are right now. But I want to find one that feels a bit more, I don't know, almost rural, almost old. And after looking over most of them, I think the UK police office is probably going to be our best bet. And that's honestly kind of ironic given the fact that the UK mixed use was crashing our game earlier. Now the question is where to place this. It's going to have some noise pollution, so maybe near the medical center, maybe near the college. No, because I don't want the college kids to feel like they're in a police state. I think this is probably the best spot, but I don't want to have the ambulances and the police cars loading from the same side. So we'll move the police station over just a bit. Let's take a look at what we have for upgrades, extra holding cells. That gives the building a bigger footprint, and a garage extension, which is extra cars. I definitely want the extra cars. Then we'll select the operating districts as Woodland, Lithia Gardens, Hillside, and I think that's everywhere. Okay, now I want to place an elementary school and a high school. For the high school, there's not too many great areas. I mean, most of the high schools are pretty big. We could place it right here, but that's very hilly. Actually, we're going to place the high school right here. I think it's a perfectly fine spot. For the elementary school, I want to place it on the college campus. And there's a few reasons why. This would be great for both the elementary students and the college students. If you're at this college and you're learning education or you're training to be a teacher, you would have pretty much real hands-on access and experience. For the elementary students, they get accesses to resources they wouldn't have had otherwise. So they have access to music programs or maybe a big library, maybe even a science program. When my wife went to college, she pretty much did this, and I thought it was one of the coolest things ever. Now there's a lot of things going on right here with this net lane, and it's just not working the way I want it to. I'm going to draw on a path here and see if I can add a key wall to it. Maybe that'll fix the problems I'm having. If not, I'll probably just delete the net lane. Oh no, that is one of the worst decisions I have ever made. It looks so bad. It's honestly funny how bad it looks. And welcome to 2.0. This is much better, new and improved version, now introducing new paths, a fancy new park, and trees. I like it much better. It's definitely a big improvement. I really want to get that net lane to work, but if you can't get the net lane to work, then you just gotta work around it. I would like to point out how ridiculous it is to have this ramp right here. It just makes no sense. I skateboarded for 12 years, okay? And in no way would this be here. The people who are playing tennis would have a heyday. The people who are running track would have a heyday. The rails right here make no sense. If they're playing tennis, you're gonna hit them with your skateboard. Also, the ramp's not even round. Anyways, tangent over. I'm gonna move on. I think this is a much needed improvement, and it's much better. For the high school, I'm already seeing the error of my ways just by taking that extra time. It makes sense to be right there. One, we could add in a parking lot for teachers. Two, the biggest reason to me is the trams. The tram stops are on that side. So you'd have to get off the tram and cross the road. To me, this is just a much needed improvement. Then I'm just gonna do a little bit of flattening and I'll come through. I'll do a bit of detailing and the high school will be done. All right, here we go. So we've added some trees, we've added some paths. It's pretty much a standard thing. I'm at this parking lot right now, and I want to change the name. I was hoping that if I pasted an empty character in, we wouldn't be able to see it. And oh, of course we can. So you can search up empty characters, and I just copied and pasted it. But for some reason, it sees it as an enter sign. All right, now it's officially done. So we've added in our medical clinic, our postal service, we've added in our high school and our elementary school, and we have a lot of services in this area. In fact, I think this area might have the best services in all of Ashland. Now I'm just gonna finish up with a bit of zoning. Now we're lacking just some very simple green space, so I'm gonna turn this little plaza into that. Because this area is redeveloping, I think we could probably fit in one of these buildings. It's a bit big for over there, but maybe over here. Even then, it's still a bit big. But something like this isn't too bad right here. It would have access to the parking lot. There's a high school, which kind of also looks like a business beside it. And it fits the area. It's not too tall, but it has a nice footprint. I think we'll extend this road right into it. That way it has some connection and some access. If we're going to have this large business in here, even the high school, it makes sense to connect this area up to the bus stop. And we have a tram stop so close to it too. And the more I look, the more empty it feels. There's another old style building that I think could fit really well here. And I did not mean to place that. I'm glad it didn't get any time to fill up with jobs. I would feel bad. So where is it? Right here. I think this has a very old feel, which would really complement the building beside it. While I was placing the other building there, I thought, what if we add this one right here? The thing is, it is a bit massive and it is a bit dense, but we could play it out as that there's really great access to workforce here. There's a really good education pipeline, and the land is fairly cheap, so you can acquire this and develop it, and the city will be happy to accommodate you. About 20 minutes later, this is where I'm at right now, and I am seeing something I absolutely love, which is traffic problems. It makes the game fun because it means we're in a pretty big growth period, and that means we can have fun starting to change things and improve things. Right now we have a lot of weird connections. Really, this connection right here should be a lot more direct, and it should be in the tile where I mentioned that I would place a tram depot. I'm just going to go through and do some basic fixes, add in some lights, add in a pedestrian phase. I don't want pedestrians crossing this road and getting significantly hurt. That's why I tried not to turn it too much into a strode. I tried to make sure that the buildings were, not directly fronting the road. Also, what this means is our city is probably in that growth phase where we need to actually consider a highway through the city. It would probably be on the side of Claywood and on the side of Ashland. So I would be really excited to do that. And I'm really happy that we're finally getting to this point where our city is it's such a big growth phase. It's so grown up. Wow. And you can just tell it's still going. I placed a few more buildings and it's just still going. Now it's in 3 places. Now it's in 4 places. Wow. Now, the only reason why I didn't design the city in the first place to prevent these things from happening is because I like to see the problem, then fix it, rather than just go all in at the start. Typically, that's not how a city is going to develop. One of the easiest fixes would be connecting this road right into the arterial. It would provide a massive amount of connection that we just currently don't have right now. The second option is sending this road down here, and this will be important for our future port, our future cargo docks, etc. And this could provide reasoning for why we even build it in the first place. Our third solution would just be sending a big old connection right through, right to the other side, and that would provide a lot of intercity connection without having to, go through the actual local roads or the connectors. But today, we shall do none of them. We're going to finish zoning out Woodland, and then we're going to start thinking about problems like that, and I am super excited. Now, I need a favor from you. If you've made it this far in the video, can you tell me if you'd rather see me place all these buildings and kind of talk about each and every single one of them, or maybe not every single one, because we're kind of out of the row homes and there's not much you can say about that. But for buildings like, where is it? Definitely not this one. This one could fit though. That one definitely can't fit, but our inn. So for example, in our inn, the reasoning why I want to place this is because I see this as a building that refuses to redevelop. Someone owns it and they just don't want to redevelop it. They don't want to sell it. They refuse to. And as long as they keep holding on, technically, eventually, they'll get a higher offering price and it'll be even worth more. They could probably retire than that alone. But I'm not sure really if I should go in and explain every single little thing I'm thinking. This episode is already, I'm guessing, somewhere between 40 to 50 minutes long, and there's still a lot more to do. And a lot of this stuff is more mundane. If I was just zoning everything in instead of plopping it, you wouldn't really have these same types of problems, right? We'd zone everything in, we'd wait for it all to zone in, we'd do some quick detailing and we'd be done. But because I'm spending so much time detailing this, I don't want to bore people. If you're watching this and I'm boring you, please let me know, because I will just change the way that I make these videos. While I was detailing like crazy, I noticed something really interesting. We have a 0% homeless rate, and I have never even seen this before. I was shocked because I was going to check our unemployment to see if I should be adding more jobs, and when I looked at the homeless rate, I saw 0, and I'm like, no way. I've never seen that before. I haven't seen that since the homeless metric was actually added. Typically, I'm used to seeing anywhere between 600 to 1200, and I'm unsure whether it's because I placed a bunch of homes all in one kind of quick blast, and for a lot of it, it was on pause too. So maybe this just hasn't had enough time to catch up. It's extremely surprising to me and honestly a bit weird. I'm just like, okay, I'll take it. It's a win in my book. For this lot right here, I want to do something special, And it's funny because every time I talk about doing something special, I always pull out the Urban Promenades DLC. And to me, they do feel special. They feel very modern and just different from all the buildings that are in the game right now. And I love that. All that extra detailing really paid off. They have those nice big plazas in the front and the back and all around the building. They feel very alive. And I'm not a big fan of the grass on top. That's usually why I don't use them. But in this case, they work really well. Now, right here, I want to add a park, a fairly sized park at that. And it's going to be a bit difficult. I won't be able to place the assets that I want just because I already know it's going to be a pain in the butt. The terrain doesn't look all that bad, but it is bad once you start working with it. So step one will be to run some pedestrian paths through here. And I really want to punish all traffic coming through here. So I'm going to lower the speed limit down to 10 kilometers per hour. And really what this should do is stop any cars from pathing into here. Because as far as I understand, the pathing works from a point system. And if it was very, very busy, some cars might see this as a better alternative. And I just don't want you driving on our pedestrian roads. They're meant for walking, unless you're city services or whatever. But yeah, like I can't stand that the car behavior does that. What I am excited for, though, is the future parks DLC that'll come for CS2. I can't wait to build custom parks. It's going to be so much fun. Even if we're a year or two out, the idea of the DLC coming is exciting. Now, I'm not sure what's going on with the center of this pedestrian path. It's giving me some weird diamond or star shape thing. I'm not sure if it's due to the terrain or what, but I'm just going to start placing some stuff and see if I need to fix it after. I've went through a bunch of different parks and the terrain has just been a very difficult thing to work with, especially on the other side. I've always kind of liked this one because it has a little area for stage. It has a bunch of seating. Maybe you're there to see, I don't know, a magician do magic tricks or something for your children. Or maybe there's a small little local concert. You can make up a lot of good history with this little park alone. And that's going to be all for this park. It's not a custom park entirely, but it still does feel decently unique and does have a lot of different amenities for all sorts of different people. I think it's pretty solid. Now, I was really hoping that the DLC would be out because I had a very specific vision for this right here, and it's not. So I'm just going to add in a very basic, and I'm hoping that when the DLC does come out, which is supposed to be soon, that then we can come back and revisit this and fix it up a bit. But in the meantime, I'm just going to throw in this Color Plaza. I think it's one of the nicest parks available. May not make entire sense, but we will come back and we will revisit this once we have the ability to do so with the DLC. And there is a fire happening. I can't remember, did we add fire service? Because if we did, they shouldn't be burning down. Let's quickly replace these. And yeah, it's still burning down. Where is the fire truck? Where are you? Oh my god, it's coming from all the way over here? So we didn't add fire service. And honestly, that was the most over-complex way to check. I could have just opened up the info view panel and just seen if we had a fire station nearby. Either way though, let's get one added in. And really the best place I see for this would be this hilly terrain. It's far away enough from kind of all the residential where we don't have to worry too much about noise. And we can use pretty much all the space we want. So I'm going to do a bit of leveling here. And then I'll get rid of some of these trees so I can actually see what I'm doing. And then we'll add it in. Now I want to use my custom industrial road. It's essentially just an alley, but it has markings on it. Now let's quickly place this in so we don't have Woodland burned down. And there's a few areas where we don't have districts, which we probably add just in case. The tram is one, the cemetery is another one. All right, now in my haste of placing the firehouse, I made a big mistake. I wanted to load on the side road first and then transfer over. The reason is because I can add in a connection in the back with some pathing that'll improve the connectivity of the fire station, but still keep it off this road. The only thing I'm scared of is creating a realistic road with paths. I am so bad at it. I've tried so hard to make the curves before, and I feel like you can try and try and try, but this is something where you just have to accept that it's not going to be perfect no matter what you do. Okay, I have went through and I have filled in this area. I have detailed every single lot, and there's still 2 more things we have to do, and thankfully they're not too long. For right here, I want to fix this up a bit and I want to add in a bus. So the bus will come from the Claywood bus station all the way right into here. I thought about sending the trams into the bus road as well, but because we have the trams already attached to this road and we're prioritizing trams on our normal road anyways, I just wasn't sure if it made sense. So we'll have the single bus route right here. The trams will meet and stop right there, and then we'll have in a path where passengers can walk right up. All right, looking pretty good. I'm much happier than I thought I would be with it. Now let's grab our bus route, and we'll start from the Claywood bus station. We'll grab one of the MT routes. Where are you? Right here. And then we'll just bring this all the way over. And then we'll just send it right back. And we won't make any stops in the way. This is more meant to transfer people between Claywood or Ashland Heights over to Woodland. And let's see, how many vehicles do you... 5 vehicles? That's insanity. No, we'll go with 2 vehicles for now. If we get the demand for it, if we hit about 80%, then we'll increase it to 3. The dangerous thing about demand in Cities Skylines 2 that I've found is if you reduce the number of buses, you will actually reduce the demand. And it makes sense in real life both and in Cities Skylines 2. So I always check to see if there's about 80% usage. Right now, all of our lines are pretty solid. We don't have that 80% just yet, but if we ever do, then I'll increase by 1 or 2 buses. So now we're just going to add a bunch of trees in here, and then we have 2 plots left, which I'm just going to turn into kind of pedestrian walkway park type things. Reason being is that this area is really pedestrian friendly, and I feel like we took a lot of space, and we didn't create a lot of green space other than our big park. We are done. 5 hours pretty much from start to finish, and I am so happy with how it turned out. Honestly, I've been enjoying CS2 so much. I loved CS1. It has my heart forever, and so does CS2. Obviously, there was some rough patches when the game first came out, but it's so much fun. Anyways, let's do a quick before and after. And that is a wrap. This has been another super fun build, and another one of my longest too, that's the funny thing. Either way, if you enjoyed, a like, comment, and subscribe would really go a long way helping to support the channel. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.